You're listening to the Tony Steuer Podcast, where Tony interviews financial literacy advocates who are changing the conversation on money, so you can catch up on the latest trends and ideas in the world of financial literacy and education. Presented by Paperwork. Be prepared for life.
Welcome to the Tony Steuer Podcast presented by Paperwork. I'm pleased to be joined today by Dr. Preston Cherry. Preston is the founder and president of Concurrent Financial Planning and head of personal financial planning program at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. And in 2021, Preston was recognized as one of Investopedia's top 100 financial advisors. Preston, welcome to the Tony Steuer Podcast.
Hi, Tony. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad to have you on today. Looking forward to learning more about you and your work. So as we get started, tell us a little bit about your origin story. How did you get started in financial wellness?
Oh, wow. I just started with coming up as, a child and having experiences with money, Tony, and when I got into school, as far as college is concerned, I met my mentor at the time, and he was like, I think you like this money thing. And I was like, yeah, sure. Personal finance. We were going through, putting together a budget and a financial statement at the time. And I remember what triggered it is that he said, okay, well, let's make a budget to where after you graduate school, how much you're going to cash flow in, cash flow out. And it got to the clothing part. And I was like, well, I don't have to spend too much more money on clothing because I had a job at the time. And I was like, well, I already have a suit. So a couple of suits, so I'm good. And he said, no, son, I think you're going to have to, upgrade your clothing a little bit. I had a decent suit. And he was like, yeah, well, when you get out into the world, you're going to want to upgrade a little bit more because we were wearing suits at the time. This was back in, 2002, I guess, because I graduated in 2003. And so he was just saying, you're going to get some cleaning, some suit cleaning. You have to upgrade a little bit more. So we were going through line items of what to expect in life. Right. And then we were just merging these ideas together of what to expect going forward. So it was just, that was kind of personal finance, what to envision in the next life cycle, and then marrying that up to what my experiences were in coming up, as a young child, as a young teen, what that meant in the household, and that's what really, experiences, right? Feelings, and then also the money mechanics, all that coming together. I didn't know that personal finance as a kind of like a profession or a structure was a thing. I knew about money and what that was, but personal finances, wellness as a structure, as a thing, didn't know it, but I came into it that way.
Well, that's great. And it's interesting that you went through that because I love that life's line item, that it's a line item for your life. To put these things together. And, people don't really think of financial wellness as a structure. They know about money, but not the professions that they can get. So, as we talk about it, one of the things is you talk about life's blueprint. Why is it important for people to think about the design of their life's blueprint?
Yes. When you are talking about what you want to think about, what you want to do, what do you aspire to do? When your money is controlling or leading what you want to do with your life, it doesn't feel very good. When you're reacting and recovering to money all the time, that's directing your life. And so what is it that you want to do? What do you aspire to do? What is it that you don't want to do anymore? How do you not want to live anymore? And so that gives you a chance to audit what you're currently doing. I always, kind of share with people, there's a money psychology, HSA, and then there's a money mechanics, HSA. So, we have the health spending account, right? And then we also have what I like to call a healthy, honest self audit. So where you're going through and auditing yourself. All right. And there's those questions that I just asked. What do you don't want to do? What do you want to do? This, that, and the other. And then you're creating your life's design, Tony. You're creating your life's design. And then you get to use your money resources as a tool, as a support mechanism, right? And then now you're not reacting. And when you're talking about wellness now, you feel better. You feel better. Now it takes a little work to do, to put that into action, right? That said, at least you're not doing what you don't want to do anymore. You're getting to start your journey. So that's what I mean by that.
That's great. And what you said about reacting, I think is so important is, we spend so much of our life reacting to financial things rather than taking the control of our financial lives. And, it's so important for people to feel empowered about their money. And I think that's a great way to do it is by having people reflect and audit where they're at and where they're coming from. That's great stuff. So as we talk through it, and this gets to something you talked about earlier, is how do our early money memories impact our relationships with life and money wellness?
Well, either we know it consciously or self-consciously, but, I've carried things forward. And it's another thing that where, my dad is kind of shared with me over the years where I've called something its proper name, so to speak, in school or a theory or something like that. And he's like, oh, that's what that's called. We've been doing that since 74. We've been right. Right. Or, like a piece of clothing, some, old schooler would say, it's that came back. Oh yeah. We used to wear that, So, this is one of those, things where a money memory or something where we didn't know that it was a script or, something that's embedded into us. And we didn't know that we carried it with us all the way through. All right. Like for instance, I mean, me and my sister, we were introduced to saving early. We had a ledger to where we put cash in a ledger, some of our allowance. And we actually had an old school ledger where we used to open it up and put cash in there, and our parents would match it, and that was, I guess, our introduction to a 401k plan. We also were introduced to, reacting and recovering the money too, to where we had to either take money out of that ledger for unexpected, unforeseen circumstances, or, the family, we sometimes we didn't have emergency funds. So what I like to call, oh man, I forgot my name for those, but yeah, we didn't have emergency funds, so we had to get cash to where we could find it, right? So those were experiences. So when I carried those forward, I had to say, oh, okay, well, why am I reacting in this way? Or why do I like to have cash at the ready in order to not feel a certain way, right? And so all of those are experiences that I had during those times, scripts or themes that I've carried forward, either subconsciously or consciously, that I've had to unpack coming forward. And I have to talk those out and say, okay, are those barriers, or are those things that I can enhance in order to, keep my money practices going forward?
That's great. So, as I'm thinking through that, and I know that you're also a financial advisor, is, how do financial advisors, how do you get people to open up about their money experiences and really think about them?
It's, like most things, Tony, people are just waiting to be asked. If you just ask them, it's just having a conversation, just asking them, and in a manner that it is a caring way, and not just you see, you and I, we're having a conversation right now, right? You're asking me questions, but I feel that you're asking me questions like you genuinely want to know my response. I feel like we're in a dialogue, and I don't feel like I'm being interrogated. We're on your show. We're chopping it up. We're having a good time. I feel like I'm sitting here looking at you, and you feel like you're genuinely interested in what I have to say. And people want to share, what their experiences are. They want to open up if you ask them in the right manner. If you, because they're coming to you anyway. They're coming to you with a purpose. They want to do something different. They aspire to move, progress on. They have a revelation they'd like to share with you. They want more certainty. They would like to have more confidence, right? And it's not just about the numbers. See, they would like to understand more. So they would like to know these things. Some people would like to know what they don't know and enhance what they do know. And if you ask them the right questions, they'll want to share. Sometimes I hear from clients, they're like, nobody ever asked me that.
It's funny because, that's what I always say is, you got to ask, it never hurts to ask. And it's so simple is, just to be curious and ask people questions and then sit back and let them talk. And, that's how you find out things about people. It's so much easier having that conversation with your clients rather than going through a detailed fact finder. I mean, you still need to go through, and ask them the questions that you need for your practice. But at the same time, it's important, like you said, is to find out about who they are, where they're going, what they want to achieve, because it's those things that are really going to drive them in their financial decision making rather than just, the hard numbers. Maybe your engineers, I'll pick on engineers for a minute, maybe they'll be driven by the hard data, but most people aren't going to be.
Well, and then, but oftentimes they're linked to the information that we need in the questionnaire, the fact finder, right? It is fact finder, right? What's a euphemism for that? Is discovery, right? We're discovering through the conversation that helps us inform and unlock, right, the information. If someone wants to move to another state, right? If somebody says, well, our next move in our next life cycle is to, I want to move to Georgia, whatever state it is. Oh, okay. Well, there's a lot of information in that comment. Okay. What inspired that? When would you like to move and why? Oh, well, we're changing careers. Our family lives down in Georgia, this, that, and the other. Okay. Obviously, how long you been living in your current house, right? Because that's going to let us know how much potential equity is in that house. Oh, we can transfer equity to your next home. We'll discover that through the statements. That's why we're going to ask you for that statement. So please upload that when we get it when we get to the next stage, right? So tell me more. And would you like to downsize when you get down there? I mean, share more about that next move. Right. So just by them sharing with you about that next move, so you got numbers and the why, the story, just by them sharing that they want to relocate and they're about to tell you a story. And see, we got all that information just in that story. It's organic. So you've had a lot of discovery in that little discussion right there.
Yeah, I love it. In fact, I was taking a couple notes because I think that's so important is people forget about that very simple question of tell me why, tell me more. Continue on is, they'll get an answer, like they're doing a fact finder and they'll say, the client's moving to Georgia and they'll make a note. and then I'll move on to the next question.
Mhm.
But, it's really getting and following up on that question and saying, tell me more about your move to Georgia. What do you see doing down there? Are you going to be changing your job? Are you going to
Mhm.
be getting married?
Right.
What are you going to be doing? And that's a whole, like you said, it's a wealth of information that will help you better serve your client.
And we're talking about wellness, right? So in that role play we just did, somebody says, okay, I have family down there. It's like, oh, okay. Oh, what motivated that? What type of family you have down there? Is that, and it's, oh yeah, I got my elder parents are down there. Yeah, tell me more about that. And they say, oh well, I'd like to be, they're elderly. We like to be closer to closer to them. They like to see their grandchildren a little bit more. And so we're going to be job hunting down there. But so you just, oh man, you're taking notes all day on that. Because
Well,
they're explaining their wellness right there, aren't they, Tony?
they are, and you're forming a relationship, which really transforms the customer relationship, is because you are forming that deeper relationship where you're having a conversation with your client rather than just presenting their investment portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
You've taken that relationship to a whole new level by doing that. That's great
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I want to make sure that I ask you about is, what is life money balance? I know you talk a lot about that, and I think that's really important.
Yes. So, life money balance is about, and this is the follow-up to life money balance. It is, and it's talking about that blueprint as well, Tony. It
Mhm.
is let your life lead your money and not your money lead your life. And that is the crux of, creating your life's blueprint, your life's design.
Mhm.
So let your life lead your money. And this is where your life and your money are working concurrently, and that's where I got the name of my firm, where your life and your
Mhm.
money are working
Okay.
concurrently. So
Nice.
they're working in partnership, and when they're working in partnership, they are working towards a common goal. And when they're working toward a common goal, you have two lines working to a common point, then that is a harmony. Okay. And then hopefully they're not working beyond a common point, Tony, because
Mhm.
when they intersect and start working in opposite directions, all right, that doesn't feel good because they are working in opposite directions and going opposite directions. When your life and money are not coordinated, when
Mhm.
they are disconnected, then this is when that overall well-being starts feeling kind of discombobulated. All right. And where that theme came from, Tony, life money balance, let your life lead your money, not your money lead your life. Having your life and money work in concurrent partnership, okay, working toward a common goal, trying to achieve that wellness, living your life aspirationally, okay. That come from, when you're talking about where did all of it come from, it came from life experiences. All right.
Mhm.
Because it was motivated by the time in my life to where I could see where my life and money were working in different directions. They weren't working in common
Mhm.
goals. And I could see in my statements to where my money was leading my life. And I can look at my line items in my statements. It was like, this doesn't feel well. My story was sitting right there in my statements, and I could feel my wellness in my statements. Right. And so I was like, okay, how do I not want to live anymore? What do I don't want to do? And what do I want to do? What do
Mhm.
I want to aspire to do? Right. And then that's when I started creating my life's blueprint. I started, wanting to design, the life that I want to live. What do I aspire to do? And, hey, let's pass that on to others. And then this is what we're talking about, where we ask people, what do you aspire to do? And let them
Mhm.
share, let them share their stories. Just ask. And that's how this process, it's a transformational process, Tony. And this is how we make impact on people's lives and align their life and money together.
Well, that's great. And, it just got me started thinking, about how you're a teacher. Do you often find that your students are surprised that you take this approach? I mean, do they come to your class and expect, to learn about maybe diversification, and you start talking about some of this other stuff?
Well, I teach, and sometimes I run long with my dialogue, and sometimes, and we have to pick up at the next class and make sure we cover the stuff that's going to be on the test. but I want them to be able to connect, even the adults. So I've coached professionals. I still do that sometimes. So I've taught people across the life cycle. Okay. And, I want folks to take the mechanics of the information. I want them to know that. I want to inform and educate. Right. However, it's very important to know the application, why it matters. I want you to feel it. I want you to feel why this matters in your life when we're sharing it. So when the students or whomever is in class, or maybe a client it has an explanation of why it matters to them, they're like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. That makes more sense because they can feel that, right? And so that's why it takes a little longer, even for me sometimes when I'm a little long-winded and everything. At least they get the conceptualness of it, right? And that's what's important. And that's when we're talking about passing along or informing, educating, instilling confidence. I was sharing with a client the other day, and actually it's a prospect, and we were sharing something, and they gave me a scenario, and they were like, okay, why is this company given these two scenarios with our pension? And I explained to them, option A versus option B. And they were like, oh, so that company wasn't doing this for the kindness of their heart. But I explained it in a way where it mattered to them. And they were like, oh, okay. Yeah. Now we get to select A over B, but it mattered to them, you see? So there's a difference when you explain things and it hits home with people, and you give that personal touch.
Definitely. Well, I think you hit on something that I really want to make sure I highlight for people who are listening to this episode, is that, you said it in their words, used language that they can understand, so that the client was able to fully comprehend what you're explaining. And I think that's so powerful that people don't get sometimes as planners, as advisors, is that, we talk at our clients rather than to and with our clients. And so we have to recognize that our clients may not know all the jargon we know in the industry. Heck, most of us don't even know the jargon the other half of the industry knows.
Yes, absolutely. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Tony, is when you're saying talk with our clients. When they know they're in a conversation and they're at a dialogue, it's kind of like when you're talking that quote unquote kitchen table talk, when people feel like they're just having dialogue with you. And see, that's when you're having a connection. And so often times you'll hear shared that, all an advisor, so to speak, an advisor.
Oh yeah, I'm hearing that now.
Right. Is that all you have to do is just, have them share their story and listen. Right. And if you do any talking or anything like that, then, you're doing too much talking. Well, obviously you don't want to be the focus of the story. You don't want to do that. However, you ever been on a telephone call and you're sharing your dialogue, and then the other and the phone on the other side of the phone goes silent, and you have to ask, are you still there? Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you got so that's why it's important to drop, little, nuggets of opportunity to build that connection. So when somebody's sharing, say, oh, okay, that's an opportunity to empathize, to let somebody know that you're there. That's how you connect during a conversation to make it a conversation and a dialogue. All right. Then you ease on back. Right. That way they can keep on sharing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you're having an exchange, and that's what makes a conversation and a dialogue and makes people feel comfortable and opens up that environment.
Well, that's really powerful. And I think people really need to take that to heart, that it's a whole different way of looking at working with clients and helping people out, whether you're a CFP or an insurance agent or a financial coach, wherever you're working with people, is that, you have to listen and learn and give them an opportunity to work with you. So, Preston, as we wrap up, what's your number one tip on financial wellness?
That's a great question, Tony. I would say, give yourself permission. And this is hard because I've had to keep on revisiting this for myself, which is, give yourself permission to, first start your journey and then revisit it, because you are worthy in order to do that. You are worthy for your wellness overall, your well-being, which encapsulates all facets of your well-being. Whether it be financial, spiritual, health, all of that goes into your wellness. Financial wellness contributes to many of these facets. And people just say that, money doesn't, buy happiness or wellness, but it darn sure contributes to the pathway. I just tweeted about this the other day. It sure does. Right. So that's why you have to have your financial, houses in order. So give yourself permission to pursue and aspire towards, good wellness. You deserve it.
That's great. Great advice. So Preston, you mentioned Twitter. Where can people learn more about you, connect with you, find out what you're up to?
Yes. So I'm at the handle at Dr. Preston Cherry. So Dr. Preston Cherry. You can find me the LinkedIn, Twitter, IG, and then www.concurrentfp.com is the firm.
Fantastic. And everybody watching and listening, I'll be putting all those links in the show notes so you can connect with Preston, find out what he's up to and everything. So Preston, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for tuning in to the Tony Steuer Podcast. Until next time.